Hi, welcome to the training webinar for today. Before we get into the training webinar, there is an important administrative note that I need to share with you. And it is this: we are going to be holding a customer forum. And when I say we, I mean I am going to be holding a customer forum at noon Pacific time, Friday, the 23rd of January. The purpose of this customer forum is to talk about some suggestions for using AI to speed up implementation, largely by having AI create objects for you as we implement Pathfinder in Process Director. Our goal with Pathfinder is not simply to give you some sort of chat bot that you can ask questions about the product or your applications on. I mean, that's nice to have, and it's not a bad thing to have, but it needs to do more. AI needs to be helpful. It needs to make your life easier. AI is not an end in itself. It is a tool that you use to make your life better, easier, make your application creation faster. So it's going to be an open forum and an open discussion. We are doing it in the BP Logix community in Circle. So if you are not a Circle member community, you're not part of the BP Logix community, I am going to paste into chat a URL. And I have to set it to everyone so that everyone can see it. And I'm going to drop in this link. This is the invitation link to process, or I'm sorry, to the Circle community. You click on that, it takes you to a login page where you can create your account. And once you do, you'll automatically be given access to all of the appropriate Process Director chat channels, as well as the events channels and the announcements and all of that. And of course, it's a great place you can go to ask questions of other community members, and we hang out in there fairly frequently too, so you can get answers from either me or maybe Francis or maybe Jack. So when you log in, all you have to do is just go to the Events tab at the very top of the screen. Scroll down, it's right there, Customer Forum, for Friday, January the 23rd. And wait a second, isn't there a training webinar next week? Oh, yes, there is, the 22nd. So 22nd is a training webinar. This is the Customer Forum right here. So all you have to do is go there, click on that. Actually, you don't even have to click on it to see it. I think you can just select whether you're going or not going from right here. You'll be added to the list of attendees. You don't necessarily have to add yourself to the list of attendees because when I go live, it'll actually be freely joinable by everybody. So you don't actually have to respond, but you do need to know that it's happening. And I have also, if you go to this particular event, I've also added a little PDF file where I discuss some of the ideas that I have for using AI in Process Director to greatly speed up your ability to develop apps. So you can download that as well and take a look at that at your leisure prior to the meeting. And then at the meeting, it will be an open forum. It's not going to be like a webinar where you just have to sit there and listen to me yammer on for an hour. I'll probably take the first 10 minutes or so to explain what I'm thinking in terms of how we would like the product to be able to help you and to automate the creation of content list objects or automate building things inside forms. We'll discuss all those things. And after that, we're just going to open it up to a general conversation for everybody to talk and to be able to come up with some suggestions about how you would like Process Director to work for you in making your ability to create applications much faster. So please click on the link that I have sent you. If you're not a member of the Circle community, you won't be able to access this forum unless you are. So please join the Circle community, and I'll look forward to speaking with you during this customer forum, which will take place next Friday, the 23rd of January at noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. And as they always say in Broadcasting Canada, half hour later in Newfoundland. Okay, so let's talk about why we're here today, and that is the training webinar, and we are going to talk about workspaces and dashboards. We're going to talk about workspaces first. This is, I think many people think, kind of basic. However, as basic as it is, it's one of the most important things that you do in Process Director, because workspaces and dashboards are how you provide a user interface to your end users. The primary method is a workspace. Right now, I'm looking at a workspace. It happens to be the admin profile workspace. It has its own pages. There's a home page that we can go to in that workspace. And I'm keeping the content list open. I'm keeping it open intentionally. So for my home workspace, it just takes me here. It takes me to the home page of IT admin. So as an administrator, it just starts me right here on this home page, and then I can go into, one of the 4 major areas of IT admin and make whatever changes I need to make there. It does also pull up the old content list K view if I would want to use that. I, of course, have the new content list open. So generally, I wouldn't go here. In fact, it's just my own laziness that has stopped me from removing that, button there. And then there's the data flow analyzer that opens up in its own new little window to allow me to trace all of the queries, all of the database queries that are going on, like the running business values and things like that. So that's my regular workspace. And of course, I have the auto claims workspace that I use for the case, at least I have in the past used it for the case management training. I also have a webinar workspace, which I've used for a webinar apparently in the past. So that's that workspace. And then I have got the standard, well, it's not really the standard user profile workspace because I have modified it a little bit, but this is the user profile workspace on my system. This is where everybody goes. Look, if I don't have access to the content list, I will, never see it. This will just be the UI that I see in Process Director. Let me pin my content list again. So workspaces are created in the configuration area of IT admin. Workspaces is the home page of the IT admin area. And so when you're here, this is where we create all of the workspaces that your users see. So we're going to start off and we'll quickly run through the workspace configuration. So I'll just go ahead, and if you're in Process Director 6, so I suppose I should make this clear. If you're in Process Director 6, all of your workspaces appear here in the Workspaces menu. If you are in Process Director 5 and lower, then it has a tabbed user interface, and your workspaces will appear instead of this menu bar appearing here, there'll be a tab bar, and that tab bar will display all of your workspaces. It's been, 2 years now, I think, since we have switched over to, at least a year and a half, since we switched over to the new UI. So that's the UI that I'll be using. But you can always access all of your workspaces from that Workspaces menu or the Workspaces tab bar in earlier versions. You will only see the workspaces to which you are a member. For example, I have this workspace called Applications on this system. I have one called Express on the system. Both of those are not workspaces to which I'm a member. Therefore, even though I am a system administrator and even though I exercise godlike control over this particular system, I don't have access to those workspaces. So you'll only see the workspaces for which you are a member. Your system may have many workspaces, but most of your users might only see the standard user workspace that you provide for them, while other users will have access to two or three or more workspaces. You get to control that whenever you create the workspace. So let's create a new workspace and let's go through the configuration settings for it. So we'll click the Create Workspace button. We're just going to give it a name, and we're just going to call this the WS and DB workspace for workspaces and dashboards. Workpaces, work spaces. I will get it correct sooner or later. And we might want to put a description in there. I rarely do that, but it's really a best practice, and you should. So I will call this for the webinar, and then I will hit OK, and that will take me to the workspace creation page. All right, it's not the workspace creation page, it's the edit workspace page. So I've got my workspace. It exists, doesn't have any members. There's no way to navigate through it. It doesn't have any content, but I've got a workspace. Now I have to configure that workspace and how I want it to work. You should have one workspace that has this property. New users added to the system should automatically be added to this workspace. That should be checked. That should be your standard workspace for everyone. If you are not a member of a workspace, Process Director cannot show you a UI. So if you have a user and you create a new user and you don't have a universal workspace home for everyone, then when that user tries to log into Process Director, they'll just see a blank page and a message that says you are not a member of any workspaces. And when that happens, they find Process Director very difficult to use. So best practice, always have one standard user workspace that everybody has access to. It doesn't have to have any big bells or whistles to it. You probably have some standard forms that every employee has to fill out at one time or another, like vacation request forms. That's a pretty universal form. So maybe you'd provide a link to the vacation request forms, and maybe, HR information change forms where, if they have if they get married and they want to change their name or whatever it may be, they can request a change, or they need to change their address because they moved, whatever. So that workspace needs to be the basic workspace that everybody has access to in your system. All of the other workspaces can be optional, but you want to ensure that whenever you create a new user, they have a home whenever they log into Process Director. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck it here because I do, in fact, already have that workspace. It is called User Profile. And by the way, whenever you first install Process Director, I suppose I should save and close this workspace and go there and show you that. There are two workspaces that exist on every default installation of Process Director. One of them is the Admin Profile workspace, which is the workspace we're in now, and the other is the User Profile workspace. Now, the User Profile workspace that we provide, which I've apparently edited a little bit because I don't have anything in this bottom portlet there, it's not super useful. It's there for demonstration purposes. We expect that you will either create your own basic user workspace or that you will take this workspace and that you will edit it so that it meets your needs. Those are the only two workspaces you get. Members of the admin group get access to the admin profile workspace, and members of the user profile workspace are automatically added to this workspace. Now, the user profile workspace is already set up with this new users added to the system property already checked. So if you're going to create your own new user workspace rather than editing this one, and I think at the end of the day, it's probably easier to edit this one than it would be to create your own workspace sort of de novo, but that's your call. But if you are going to do that, you probably want to uncheck this property in the user profile simply so that you don't have to worry about all of your users automatically being added to two basic user workspaces. You only need one of them. So let's go back to the workspace that I was in the middle of creating here. This next checkbox is problematic. There is a desktop interface for the workspace. It does provide a more modern and little more complex UI for end users. I both love and hate it at the same time. There are some cool things that you can do with the desktop interface. And I might as well just demo it for you. So let me just go back to user profile and do that one. So if I set this desktop interface as the workspace, and we just looked at it, it had those three panes, one of which were empty. Those panes are called portlets, by the way. I'm probably going to be using that term a lot, so we should probably define it right now. I'm going to go ahead and use the interface desktop for the workspace. And I'm going to hit OK. Cool. And now we are going to switch over to the user profile workspace. Now, instead of showing me portlets, of which I really only have two configured here, what it's going to show me, and I guess I will need to get rid of the content list here so that we have some screen real estate. And let me just reset the workspace here. There we go. Okay, I have the QA dashboard. I'm not sure why it wasn't showing up originally, but there we go. That's what this workspace has. Now, you just saw me change the size. Now, there are a couple of advantages to having this workspace, using the desktop workspace. A, it is kind of cool. B, it does allow me to kind of move and resize things in weird ways. I'm not limited to the number of portlets that I can have, and I can change their sizes. And so if I decide that I still want to see these three things, and I want to see that there, and then I want to see this little one down here, and I want to organize it that way, I can. If I think that, this one is probably too big, I don't really need it that big. I'd rather have my other thing bigger, or I could just do that. I could just move it like this and pull this down here. And then I could make this workspace. Well, let me go to the corner here. And I can make this workspace bigger. And okay, this is cool. And this is now my workspace. I have taken and configured it and customized it so it shows me what I want to see. Maybe I want to move things around. Maybe I always want to say, okay, you know what? I want to see my task list is already up there, the dashboard. Okay, bug K-view. Let me just throw that in there. So I have this bug K-view, and I need to jam this on here somehow. Okay, well, that's fine. I can do that. I'll just move it down here, and I'll reset its size, and then I'll go up here to my task list, and I will change, well, that's my whole screen. I don't want to do that. I want to change its size so I can just grab the top of it. There we go. And now I can move it back up here, and I can just do all this customization. I'll stop doing customizations. Uh, and they don't have to be symmetrical, right? This, I guess I'd have to call it a window instead of a portlet, but it really is a portlet. It just looks window-like. This portlet does not have to be the same height as the QA dashboard portlet, and they don't necessarily even have to. There's no rhyme or reason with how you set this up other than how it looks good to you. And once I have customized my dashboard, I'm good to go. It's going to save this configuration. So when I open up my dashboard, it's going to show me the dashboard just like this. So that is, pretty cool. And I've got menus here to minimize, restore, and maximize. I can go back to the home. It looks cool. There are some serious drawbacks to it if you're trying to do any sort of scripting or what have you inside these windows. It doesn't respond the same way that a normal workspace would with a normal workspace portlet. And as an administrator, you lose control over what it is your user sees whenever they open up their desktop because they can customize it. They can make it quite confusing. I mean, I have the bug cave view, the QA dashboard. So I've got the sample form. I've got the object list. I'm not even sure what the object list is, but I can pull that up. I can pull up my ITHR request forms. I can make my desktop very confusing if that is what I wish to do. So you lose control over what it is that your users see because anything that is included in that workspace, they can throw it on their desktop. What that also means is that if I decide, you know what, why do I want to look at my task list? What purpose could that possibly serve? I'm just going to get rid of that, or I'm going to accidentally get rid of it without meaning to. And you're going to get a lot more questions from users. Well, it was supposed to look like this, but now it looks like this. And I wanted to show that. And now I can't see my task list. And by the way, the task list is super easy to bring back. You just click on task list and it reappears. But, users get confused and you can make a very confusing UI. You lose control over the dashboard UI. You now give that control over to your users. And so, that's whether you want to do that or not is entirely up to you, but that's your choice. And of course, now that we're here, it's going to open up my other workspace down here. That's not exactly how I wanted this to work. So let's go back into our user profile. And we're going to turn off the desktop workspace. And we're just going to hit update. And now I'm going to reload my Process Director installation. And this is actually the non-desktop workspace. So we're back to where I wanted to be. Now, when you use the desktop workspace, when you turn it on, and I'll have to update to activate it, there is another property called Clear Desktop Layout. Because your users can go a little crazy and they can end up with wildly differing desktop layouts, you can have the desktop layout cleared. So you can actually clear it administratively so that it reverts back to the default for everybody. But of course, that will, that's not to solve one user's problem. That's to solve everybody's problem because it clears whatever their desktop layout is, because every time you change in the desktop layout, it saves a personal default layout for you as an end user. But you can override that by just clearing the default desktop layout. And that will affect all of your users. We do have some people who use this. We have a couple of customers who love it. One of our partners in the UK uses it fairly extensively, but the way that pages open and the way it controls things does change, especially if you're doing a lot of scripting. It does change the way that you have to script things for forms and whatnot in terms of how they work because of the way the display changes. In general, we wouldn't recommend that you use the desktop interface because we have dashboards now, and dashboards have a lot of advantages over just the plain vanilla workspace or the desktop interface. That option is available to you. You can choose it or not. I'm not personally a fan of it. I find that, especially from a system administration point of view, it tends to be more trouble than it's worth in terms of having to help people because they don't understand how the UI works. Use it at your own risk. That's all I'll say. It's entirely up to you. It is cool. It does have some cool features to it. But Flash is often not a substitute for other better ways of doing it, such as using a dashboard. And if you really want to have a customized UI, you can use a dashboard to make it super customized. Your workspace can have a background image. Generally, it doesn't have one. Generally, the background is just, plain. It's not white. It's a very, 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 very light gray. But you can choose background images just as you can for forms or what have you. That is the same functionality. You choose your background image. You decide how you would like that background image to appear. You can upload your own images as well. You can use an image, a custom image. For example, I have this training server background image that I uploaded. It's the background image, in fact, for my login screen on this server, so that when I look at it, I know whether I'm on the training server or the documentation server because I use both kind of interchangeably. So you can set your own background image. You can use one of the pre-background images that we have. If it's a small background image, you can tile it or just put it in the center. You can stretch it, whatever you want to do. And you can also set its opacity level. By default, the opacity level is set to 0. So you can set it from 1 to 100. There's this slider here that you can just drag. And as I drag the slider, you can see this change. And that's what opacity it's set at currently. And so as I make changes to it, it changes the opacity of the background. The relative order on toolbar, that's kind of confusingly presented now because there is no longer a toolbar. There is, in fact, a workspaces menu. And so the workspaces menu presents everything by default in alphabetical order. And so that is usually better for a menu. If you have the older version, this relative order on toolbar does become fairly important because rather than having the menu, you have that row of tabs across the top of your screen. And you may or may not want those tabs because the tabs are not actually ordered in alphabetical order by default. So you have to create your own order. Generally unnecessary in the 6.1 UI, but if you are in the version 5 UI, you probably are going to want to set that so that you can specify the priority of the tabs that will appear at the top of the screen and the order in which they appear. For menus, of course, best practice, menu should be alphabetical so that people can find the things that they need to find simply by going alphabetical. Alphabetical is always a great choice anyway, because we just sort of naturally tend to think in alphabetical order, and it becomes obvious to us, even subconsciously, that things are in alphabetical order or they are not. And it just becomes easier to find things in alphabetical order. It's kind of a natural language thing. Workspaces can have an icon. So if you click on workspace icon, you can open up the icon chooser and choose whatever icon you want for the workspace. How to display workspace. This, like the relative order on toolbar, is here for accessibility, not accessibility, backwards compatibility purposes. It mattered in the old UI, how you wanted to display it. It actually kind of matters in this UI as well. You may have noticed that when I drop the workspace menu, it actually shows me this icon here. I'm not super happy with that because I'm not wild about the lack of spacing between the icon and the text for the auto claims workspace. It's not the greatest. It looks much better on the tab bar. So I normally wouldn't recommend that you use the icons. It may just be because this icon really fully fills up the 16, is it 16 by 16 or whatever the space is on the icon. It fully fills it up. It may actually be 32 by 32. Don't remember off the top of my head. Also not important. Some icons will look better than others because of the way that the amount of space that they take up inside the fixed height and width of an icon. It's up to you, but this is largely more relevant for the tabbed workspace where the icon might have a more useful purpose. I'm not sure it does anything other than clutter up the workspace's menu. So if you want to use the icon or icon and text display, you can. That's totally up to you. I'm not a fan, but again, that's a personal thing, really. So, don't take it as gospel. There's also a workspace tooltip. Again, mainly helpful for the tabbed interface rather than the menu interface. And what it does is it makes a workspace tooltip appear when your mouse hovers over the item in the tab bar. We're in kind of a gawky teenage phase with the new UI because we still have customers that are on 5.44.1104. In fact, I had a customer that just upgraded to 6.1.355 this week, and they were on 5.29. So they have not updated their system for, 6 years? So yes, it was a big update for them. But because we have customers that use both UIs, there's a lot of stuff that has to stay in here for backwards compatibility with the version 5 UI. In fact, it is possible to do this. It's not something we recommend, but it is possible. And if you wanted to do it, we could help you with it. We have one customer who is on version 6.1. something, but they did not want to frighten or confuse their users with a new UI, so they disabled the 6.1 UI and they kept the .5 UI or the version 5 UI. So it's doable even if you have a version 6. Would I recommend it? No, because you lose a lot of capability if you stick with the old UI. But it's doable, and in that case, some of these properties would still be useful. For the moment, we can't really remove them. We can't take them out like we did on the installation settings in the global variables page. We took out a property that's been in there for since the beginning, which was the identify mobile devices. So you could put in BlackBerry and Palm and devices that no longer exist. And we had to keep that in the product for years and years and years because people had had it set. Now we have simply removed it from the UI, so you can't set that property anymore. Because I think the reason that we did that was because several months ago we had a customer that was complaining this looks awful on a mobile device, and what that property did, it's an artifact back in the days when each of the smartphone manufacturers. So you had basically there were three big ones. You had BlackBerry, iPhone, and Android. And each one of those three companies had their own particular way of displaying web pages for users of their mobile phones. So they would actually take whatever the regular web page was and they would just rebuild it with their own mobile UI. And so if you had users that were going to use those devices, you had to have Process Director know which of those mobile UIs to choose from whenever it presented information to them on their phones. Of course, that no longer obtains now. Everybody just uses a normal web browser, Chrome, Brave, Firefox, whatever. So it's entirely unnecessary. But we did have users who had it, and we had people who had Blackberries for at least a while after they were no longer useful. But we've now removed that. It will probably be some time then before we look into and remove all of these properties because they're no longer super useful for the modern UI. But for now, they have to stay on the product. So there's, always those things where we have to worry about backwards compatibility for earlier versions. Assign users and assign groups. You can assign individual users to a workspace. Don't recommend it. There's the general caveat that we always talk about. If you are going to assign permissions or assign any other sort of access to an object, it's really better to do that at the group level than the user level. Because if I have a user and I remove them from a group, they automatically get removed from the workspace. If I have an individual and I remove them from a group, but they're individually assigned to a workspace, that's going to require that I go into that workspace and I individually remove them. Especially if you have a larger installation. My installation, it wouldn't be that big of a pain for me because I have so few people who can actually access this server in the first place. Mainly it's either implementers or engineers who ask me for access so that they can look at a sample that I've created for them, or I create their access so that they can look at a sample that I've done for them. But for the most part, I could manage at a user basis because I've got 18 users, I think, on the system. Yeah, 18 users. That's not a problem for me. When you get 40,000 users on your system, you're not going to want to administer users. So our recommendation is that you assign groups to workspaces so that you can automatically manage workspace access by managing your groups as well. Group management is something you can never, ever get away from. You might make your life easier by, in Process Director, sourcing your groups from, Azure Active Directory, if indeed that's what Microsoft is even calling it now. But what used to be called Active Directory, or let's just open it up, any LDAP directory. That enables you to sort of offload group management onto your IT team, and then you can just run synchronizations or whatever your normal user import is. Increasingly now for cloud customers, there's an import process that uses Excel. So you export from your directory service, whatever it might be, and you export that to Excel, and Process Director just imports that Excel file and makes whatever user changes there are to do your user synchronization. But if you administer by groups here and you just add group access to the workspace, then you don't even have to manage group membership, because that all gets managed by your IT team as people either move around in the organization, leave, or new people enter the organization. And so you don't really have to manage it all. You just have to know what groups get assigned. So our recommendation would always be that you assign groups to a workspace rather than individual users. From time to time on this system, you will notice that I have individual users assigned. That's intentional because I want certain people to only be able to see certain things. All of my groups on the system are largely notional. They're there for demonstration purposes. They're not real. So I'm going to have to manage it either way because I'm not running a directory sync. So I'm either going to have to manage groups or I'm going to have to manage users. I've only got 18 users. It's not going to be one or the other method is not going to be any easier or harder for me. The work is going to be the same. So you'll see that on my system, sometimes I have users assigned. You'll notice sometimes I have both groups and users assigned because I do a lot of ad hoc stuff on this system. You will not do a lot of ad hoc stuff on your system, or at least you shouldn't. So group assignment is your best choice. Then that gets us to the bottom area where we define what we're going to have the users access in the workspace. So there are 3 tabs that are relevant, 2 tabs of which directly control what appears in a workspace. The first is your top navigation buttons tab. So these are my navigation buttons for the user profile workspace, which is the workspace that we are still in. If I was to switch to the admin workspace, as I was on previously, you'll see only the 3 buttons there for home, content list, and the data flow analyzer. So these are all customizable. If you were in version 5 and you upgraded to version 6, you may have noticed some changes to this user profile bar. In older versions of the product, you had the ability to throw in a couple of different things here, and maybe I should make the screen a little smaller so that we can see all of the items here. Well, that's about as good as I can get it. Content list, task list, log off. That's what I was looking for. It's way up there at the top. So see that log off button? That used to be a navigation button that you would place right here in your navigation bar. In the old interface, right above the navigation bar was that row of tabs. So as you change tabs, the navigation bar would change because changing a tab changes the workspace, and so your navigation bar would change. So if you wanted to give people the ability to log out, no matter what workspace they were in, you'd always have to create a button on the navigation bar for log off. That's no longer necessary. It is if you're still on the version 5 UI. But in version 6, those universal items are all contained here. So access to my user profile is done by clicking on my user image and going to the profile menu. The logout button is a permanent part of my my UI. No matter who I am, I can always log out. And so therefore, in the 6.1 UI, if you pick something like log off, which I guess should be log out, but whatever, semantics aside, it's not going to show up in the toolbar. It just is not going to appear here. In fact, all of the items that appear in either the main, well, that's the content list, but all the items that appear in any of the menus, if you have links that you create or buttons that you create here in your navigation bar, they simply won't be displayed. They don't need to be displayed because they already exist. It's much like if you were a person who had the ability to impersonate other users. I don't have to navigate to the IT admin workspace, and then go to troubleshooting and then click impersonate and then open the impersonate page and do it. I can do it directly from here. I have impersonate user permissions. So this just appears here. So the navigation is much simplified for you. And what this does is it saves some space on the navigation bar in V6 so that you simply don't have to put those homepage or now I have homepage on here to get me back to the full workspace. Probably shouldn't have clicked that, but it doesn't matter. I haven't done any changes here, so I guess we're fine. But in any event, some of these items you don't need to use anymore. Most of the time, what you want to show on the navigation bar is either a way to open up a knowledge view. So if I open up Bug KView, I want to just open that knowledge view directly. If I want to open this sample form, oh my goodness, that is a very big form. I don't know why it opened at that size. But if I wanted to open up a sample form, there we go. There's the sample form that I can open. And so what you really want to do is give people access to specific objects in the system so that they can open up the form. In this case, it's the ITHR requests dashboard that I built, and which we'll be talking about in the not too distant future. This is actually a form that is being used as the entire workspace for a workspace, but we'll get to that in the next couple of weeks. But that's what this navigation bar does. So let's hope I can back my way. I can back my way back up to the configuration. So you can create your own custom items. For the most part, you're not really going to use any of these items here. You're really going to concentrate in this section of the menu here, where the drop-down shows me my ability to pick a partition, knowledge view, report, chart, dashboard, form, or those three items. Those will be mostly what you're going to do. I'm going to either show a knowledge view, a report, a chart, or a form, and I want it to be able to open up from that workspace. Almost always it's forms or knowledge views that you're going to configure for navigation buttons. They both work very similarly. Also reports. There's a not inconsiderable number of reports. But let's say I just wanted to have people open up a form. I would just pick partition form. And if I wanted to give it an icon, I could do that. If I didn't want it to show up in the with a title bar, which is not as relevant in version 6 as version 5, I could check that. This is the label. This is what will actually show up in the dashboard. You know what I should do? I should probably assign me to this dashboard. It's going to be a lot more helpful if we can just see things happen as they happen. So I'm just going to hit OK here. And it's not going to show up here for me yet, unfortunately, so I am going to have to refresh the page. And then we'll go to Workspaces, and there is my, oh, that says FB, not DB. Huh. As you can see, I always misspell something. And right now it says partition form. I don't particularly want it to say partition form. So let me open up a new tab. And let me go back to training here. And in my new tab, we'll go back to configuration. This will allow us to switch back and forth between tabs and see any changes that I make. So right now, this label says partition form. And sure enough, That's what this button says, partition form. Well, I probably don't want it to say that. And do I want an icon? Maybe I do. Let me set an icon because now we can, we can make things pretty. Oh, well, I want to make it small enough so that, all right, we'll do that. Then I'll just grab it and pull it down here. There, now we can see it. So let me just pick a pretty color. Uh, okay, blue. I like blue. And let's see, this is a form. I should probably search for some sort of great icon for a form, but I'm just going to grab something at random, and it's going to be whatever that is. That's now my icon, and I can update my workspace. And oh, I should probably change the name since that's what shows up there. So I'm going to call this, I don't even know what form I want to grab here. So we'll just call this sample form. And sure, we'll give it a tooltip. This is a sample form that is being sampled. There we go. Now I've got a tooltip, and I might as well finish configuring it. Then we can take a look at it in its final state. Now I need to know what partition form I'm going to look for. So we'll just open this up. We'll go to training webinar and workspaces dashboard. I've got these base objects here. So there's the form that I want to show, and we'll hit update here. Then we'll change our tab. We'll go back over to our workspace, and we'll just refresh the screen. Oh, and there we go. I've got sample form. It has its icon, and I have no earthly idea what that icon is, but it exists. It says sample form. When I place my mouse over it, there's my tooltip. This is a sample form that is being sampled. And when I click on it, it is going to open up. And oh, well, I meant to change the size and I accidentally closed it. It's going to open up our sample form. Our sample form is not super impressive. I hate the fact that it is so big, though. But there's our sample form. It just has some form fields with some data in it. And by the way, these are pre-configured. So I don't have to actually fill anything out. I can just go ahead and submit my form. But notice it does have a submit button. That must mean that I am looking at a brand new instance of this form. This is form request number 646, and it has its unique values here. And if I submit it, I will have a new form instance, and that is indeed what this form does. I am complete. Oh, I must have a whole process associated with that. Well, let me get rid of that and close that form. Then I'm back to my workspace. And if I open up another one, there we can see that's my form with all of the new values. It is form number 651. So opening up the form will open up a brand new instance of the form to enable me to submit that form. Knowledge views work very similarly. So if I pick a partition knowledge view, and I'm not going to go and do a whole bunch of stuff here, I'm just going to do this and be done with it. But sure, let's pick another icon. We'll go with green, and we'll pick the flappy scuba paddles here, and we'll call this K-view because I don't know what K-view it is yet. I suppose I'll pick one. This is a knowledge view, and then we'll go to form here, or we'll go to data here, and that's not what I wanted. Training webinar workspaces dashboards. I'm pretty sure I have a knowledge view in there, my requests, and now I can update. And we'll go back over here to this form. We'll refresh this page. And there we go. I've got my new K-View item, and it has its cool little tooltip that pops up. And then if I click K-View, notice it's going to operate differently. Now it's going to pop open the Knowledge View directly in the Knowledge View workspace. That's okay. If I want to go back to the home, this is why the home button is no longer one that you need in a workspace, because I can just click on the workspace name and it takes me back to my home button. So if I open up a Knowledge View and it opens up the Knowledge View in the same window, then fine. If I want to go back home, I just click on the workspace name. It takes me back home. It's showing me my task list because I have not configured what I want to show in my workspace yet. We'll do that next. But notice that the form, as we've seen, opens up in this whole new thing like that. That behavior is gonna change. One of the problems with trying to implement AI in the product is that if I open up a form in this new pop-up window, the AI kind of loses context of what it is that I'm looking at, which makes it remarkably less helpful when it doesn't know what I'm seeing and what questions it's supposed to be answering or what it's supposed to be doing. So in the future, we are going to get rid of these pop-up windows. One of two things is going to happen when I open up a new form. It is either going to open it up right in the same window for an end user. It will almost always open up in the same window. And so they'll just see the form in this window. They'll be able to fill it out and submit it. And when they submit it, it'll just go right back to their home. Or if you're an administrator, it can open up in a new tab in the same browser window. So instead of opening up in an independent pop-up, which has its own, independent life cycle from what it is that we're looking at here, that's going to be going away. So those pop-ups are going to die, and we're either going to be opening up things exactly in the same parent window that we're looking at, or we're just going to open up a new browser tab, and you'll just have to navigate to that browser tab. The behavior will be what it is. And in fact, well, that's looking at a form, so it's going to open up right here in a pop-up. But what we are going to do is, and you didn't see this happen, I'm pressing Control and then hitting click. And when I do that, we are going to, in all universes, respect that by opening up a new tab for that item. So anytime that, and I know that my tab bar isn't showing here. Great. So let's do that. So anytime that I want to open up one of these forms, if I press and hit Control and then click, then it's going to open up that form in a new tab. We are going to respect the browser standard open in a new window, open in a new tab, keyboard shortcuts, rather than overriding them and replacing whatever it is that you want to do with the pop-up window that has been sort of the traditional way that Process Director works. Pop-up windows are going to go away. Maybe not completely for everybody, but they are largely going to be gone in future versions of the product. So that's our navigation bar. We don't need to beat that dead horse anymore. Let's go back over to our definition for our workspace and go look at the Homepage Windows tab. In a normal workspace, you are limited to what data you can see in terms of how many items I can show you. I can show you between 1 and 4 different panes in the workspace. Each of these panes is called a portlet. So I can have from 1 to 4 portlets on the page. If I have nothing selected, so the default state of a new profile is just to show me the task list. And that's it. Because the task list is super important. You need your task list because you need to be able to complete your tasks, obviously. But I have a number of different options to show you and for how to configure this. I think in the modern world, we're going to want to do one of two things. We're going to want to build a content list dashboard, and we're going to want to display just that content list dashboard. Or we're going to want to just display a form and build the product UI in that form. So I can't talk about that this week, about using that form. We'll have to put that off till next time. But because I'm just not going to have time to complete everything that is incorporated in all of this. But that's probably my best choice, because that gives me full control over how the UI is going to work for the user. In a traditional system, before we had dashboards and before we had the ability to use forms as a dashboard for a UI, we only had these portlets here. So for the most part, you would have just chosen a portlet, and this functionality still exists, and it's still perfectly valid if you want to do it this way. So if I decide that, okay, I want to show, and we'll just pick some of the process director objects. Well, I obviously want to show the task list. So here's what we're going to see. We're going to see, actually, I'd probably choose this one. So these portlets, there are going to be 3 of them, are numbered 1, 2, and 3. Down here, I can choose what I want to show in 1, 2, and 3. So at the very top in 1, I'm going to want to show my task list. And I don't really need a label for it or anything like that. I just need to pick the task list. I can turn the title bar off. Again, don't recommend that, but you certainly could. Although if you're not in the desktop interface, it doesn't really matter all that much. For the second thing, I think I'm just going to pick forms I can submit. And that will show up in the lower left-hand corner of my workspace, of my 3 panes. And it is still loading for some reason. Oh no. That's not good. Can everyone still hear me? Am I still talking? Apparently I must be, because server communication is restored. All right. So for whatever reason, something went wonky there. I'm just going to update real quick so that I don't save what I've done already. So we're going to have forms I can submit in the lower left, and then in the lower right, we'll drop in, I wouldn't put user settings there. Let's drop in all knowledge views and reports. That'll be fine. So it'll show me all of the knowledge views and reports that I have access to. So at the very top, I'll see my task list. Lower right, I'll see all the forms that I'm allowed to submit, which is going to be a lot on this system. And on the left, I'll see all the knowledge views and reports that I can access on this system. And I will just hit update. So this will change what I see here whenever I refresh this workspace. And this is the sort of standard traditional workspace that you've seen in Process Director for years and years and years and years and years. So I do have some limited ability to move things around some, but the trouble with it is that it's not customizable. It's not going to save it for me. So whenever I go back to my workspace, it's just going to go back to status quo ante. This is it. This is what the workspace looks like. It has 3 portlets. I do have some limited ability, again, to expand and contract the portlet if I want to. So So I can just make all knowledge views and reports. And if you look way up here, you can still see the little collapse expand button. But again, once I refresh this workspace, it's going to go back to status quo ante. So nothing that you do here is permanent. This is what the workspace looks like. This is okay, but there are better ways to do that, which we are rapidly approaching. One final thing I have to worry about for my workspace is whether I want to have a custom logo URL, which is a link that will open when I click the logo. And I'm sorry, the logo URL, that is the URL of the logo image that I want to display for this workspace. So if I have a custom image, like right now, my universal logo for this server is the BP Logix training logo that I created a couple of months ago. So it lets me know what server I'm on. But if I wanted a different logo, I would just put the URL to that logo here. It has to be a logo image. It has to be, I think, something, it has a specific, I don't remember what it is. I think it's like 65 by 125 or something like that. I don't remember, but it should be in the documentation. It has a specific size constraint that you would need to stay inside. I know that some of you are running custom logos on your system, and we've had to do some massaging of those logos to put the appropriate amount of white space around the edge so they kind of fill the image space nicely. And you need to worry about that with your logo URL, and then the logo link is the logo that will be clicked on. Now, if you do have a separate logo URL and logo link, then when I'm looking at this workspace, I am not going to see the BP Logix training logo. I'm going to see a different logo than my standard logo. So this allows you to override the system logo with your own, with some custom logo, whatever it may happen to be. You may just have a logo that indicates that you're in the HR section now, and you might want that to appear up here. That's entirely up to you. We're not going to configure that. We've already, configured the workspace currently as we want it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK, and we'll be back to our configuration screen. Now, does this look a little dated? Yeah. Is there a lack of functionality to it? Yeah. So I have two primary ways of replacing this. One easy that we're going to talk about now, one not so easy that we're going to have to talk about in a future training webinar. But let's talk about the easy way now, and that is the dashboard object. Because I don't necessarily, here's the problem with workspaces. To create one, to manage it, to edit it, to do anything that I want to do is going to require that I have the ability to go to the configuration section and make those changes in IT admin to that workspace. So if somebody says, hey, I need to add a new button, or hey, can you change the form that pops up when we click this button? I have to manage all of that as a system administrator. And I don't really want to be in the job as an administrator, usually, of doing my implementers' work for them. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes an implementer is going to have some sort of application that needs to have its own workspace, and that workspace needs to show its own dashboard. So there is always some configuration that you're going to have to do from time to time here. But if I want to go in and change any of this stuff, any of it at all, I have to be a system administrator who has access to all of these items, who can make these changes. What if I didn't have to worry about this bit or this bit at all? Well, that's possible, because one of the ways that we can replace all three of the portlets in this workspace with some other custom item is by creating a dashboard. Now, dashboards are kind of cool because dashboards do create a UI, but it's a UI that exists in the content list itself. Anyone who has access to the content list and who can develop objects can create a dashboard. So if we go to the workspaces and dashboards screen, you know what? I should probably make it over here now that I'm thinking about it. So this should be my working screen and the other one should be my display screen. So over here, we'll go into the workspaces and dashboards. Well, I didn't pin my content list open, which I want to do. So here when we go into the workspace and dashboards, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new dashboard. So we'll just go to create new and create dashboard. I'm going to give it a name. Workspace dashboard webinar is the name I'm going to give it. I'm just going to hit OK. I don't want to talk about this tab yet. I want to talk about what a dashboard is. What a dashboard is just a design surface. And this design surface enables you to display forms or knowledge views or charts or a clock or a random URL. It doesn't, you have a lot of activity that you can do on this dashboard, and you have a lot of items that you can drag onto it. And so the dashboard itself is just a design surface. You can see it looks like a set of graph paper. And we're just going to drag widgets onto it that we want to show to the end user, and that will create the user interface that we wanted to build. So if we had an application, so we do have an application right down here in base objects, I have a form and I have a timeline and I have a knowledge view that I can show. I can build a dashboard for this little application to show all of these things by just going to the dashboard definition tab and pulling in the appropriate widgets. Before I do that, there is some other configuration that I might want to do. Of course, the dashboard description, even though I'm not going to do it in the interest of time, you always want to do that in a production system. Then what's the dashboard type we want? We can make it either responsive or fixed size. The default is responsive because if I need to look at this dashboard on my phone rather than on my desktop computer, then I want the dashboard to resize itself appropriate to the viewport that I'm looking at. So for accessibility reasons, responsive is the set default. However, you can change it to fixed size. You can say it must display at 1920 by 1080 pixels. You can do that. I wouldn't, but you can, because now it's always going to be 1920 by 1080, and that's what we're going to have to live with. And if I look it up on my phone, it's still going to be 1920 by 1080, or my tab or whatever. That's probably not a great choice unless you are intentionally doing something for small viewports. Or, for example, I wanted to show a dashboard here and then a different dashboard there and a separate portlet. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can have a workspace where you just show two different dashboards. And then you might want to, set a fixed size so that, and it has to be small enough so that even people on small viewports won't have a trouble with it. They don't have to do a bunch of horizontal scrolling. That gets tricky. You need to have some design skills to do that. But that is one instance in where fixed size might be acceptable, but in general, we're going to want this to be responsive. The background. I don't like the background color that we put on it. It's that light gray color. Um, it's nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that color, but I would prefer my background just be FF, 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 which is white. And this will change the background of the dashboard at runtime. You can pick any hexadecimal color. Please don't pick ugly colors. Please pick something nice and soothing or neutral. On the other hand, hey, it's your application, man. You go crazy. You do what you want. You know, nobody says you have to have good taste to be a web designer. Actually, everybody says that, but never mind. Dashboard CSS. You may create your own CSS style sheet here so that you can apply CSS styles to individual widgets. Sometimes that's not going to work because your widgets have pre-made styles that are part of Process Director. They're built into the product, so they have to be overridden. I'm not going to go through how you would override a fixed BP logic style with your own style. Moreover, you may not always be able to do it because of how cascading style sheets work, but you can create your own custom styles with a cascading style sheet. We're not going to do that. We're not going to create any styles, but you have the ability to do that. And this affects your entire dashboard or all of the widgets in your dashboard. So I could have a number of styles and I could apply a different style to each of the dashboard widgets. For some things, it might work out really great, like if you have a text widget and you want to apply some styles to it. I think you can do it on the clock widget as well. And a couple of the other ones, you don't really have to worry about the Process Director styles overriding that. For some of the widgets like the Knowledge View widget or your form widget, because you've got styles built into the form. And if I try to rebuild styles again here, might not be super successful. So we're not going to get in. It's a complicated thing. Forget I mentioned it. We don't care about styles at the moment. What we do care about are the widgets. So right now I've got 3 objects that might serve as widgets. I've got a form, I've got a timeline, and I've got the My Requests knowledge view. Well, I think I'm probably going to want to show the My Requests knowledge view because let's assume this is a dashboard that is application specific. So I'm going to go into my widgets here and I'm going to find KView. I'm just going to drag that KView widget here. Now, all the widgets work in the same way. They have a title bar, which you can show or hide. They have a delete button that you can just delete the item. And then they have a settings button, which you can click to show the settings for the widget. The widgets are all resizable. This is a knowledge view. I expect I'm going to want to see some stuff. I'm going to leave myself some space over here for reasons that will be obvious in a moment. And I can go ahead and then go down here to the corner. If I can grab it with my mouse accurately enough, looks like I can't. Fine. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this and I'll just make this a big area of my space here. This is one of those times when maybe it would be worthwhile to get rid of my content list so that I have a fuller screen here that I can view. See, now that I've done that, I probably want it to go here. Screen size may be an issue in how you set this stuff up, which is why fixed size exists, but I'll demonstrate that a little bit later. So there we go. I've got my KView widget. Now I have to configure it in the way that I'll configure it. Be sure it's selected. It's blue. And I can either double click up here as I just did to bring up my KView widget properties, or I can click directly on the tiny little icon here to bring up those same properties. I'm lazy, so I'm probably just going to end up double clicking it to bring up, sorry, I don't have to try to find that tiny little icon, but there we go. I've got my dialog box. Now, every widget has their own dialog box. All the dialog boxes are slightly different because obviously there are some things that apply to knowledge views that wouldn't apply to forms and vice versa. But I've got to configure this. And so, first of all, do we want to show the title bar for this widget? Now, this is the title bar, where it says KView widget up there at the top. So the title bar is currently being shown. I can hide that simply by clicking the show title, or I can hide or um, uh, show it simply by the selection that I pick here and show or hide title bar. When do I want this widget to display? I can show it always, so every time I look at it, or I can show it in desktop only, or I can show it in mobile only. So technically, I could have two versions of this desktop that have slightly different widgets on it that might show me the same thing, but I might have two KView widgets on here, one that I want to show for mobile and one that I want to show for desktop. The default is always, however, so we're just going to leave it as always so that this is the same widget that will display no matter who's looking at this particular desktop. Now, because this is a knowledge view, I may wish to have this knowledge view refresh. Depends on how current I want my data. When the dashboard opens, it's going to run the knowledge view, and I'm going to get whatever the data was at the time that the knowledge view was created. That's fine. Super. If, however, I need to have it refresh after I open it, then I can set a refresh number in seconds. So let's say I set 30. This knowledge view would refresh every 30 seconds. So as long as I had it open, every 30 seconds, it would go back and refresh the knowledge view, and it would retrieve the data again and redisplay it. Now, obviously, that means you're making this knowledge view call every 30 seconds. Unless you have a knowledge view that just requires, for some outlandish reason, a very high degree of currency, probably you can just keep this set to 0, and having the knowledge view open up and show you the data as it exists when you ran the knowledge view would probably be fine. But the ability to refresh is an option, just as it is on a normal knowledge view. Now, let us be careful here, because not only can I refresh here in the dashboard, I might also have refresh set up in the knowledge view itself. Because remember, when you create a knowledge view, there is a refresh seconds property for the knowledge view definition itself. And so I could conceivably end up with two different refreshes running. A refresh running here from my dashboard, which would refresh, like, say, every 30 seconds. And then I might have a refresh in my knowledge view itself that says, hey, refresh this every 20 seconds. So what's going to happen is I'm going to open up this knowledge view. 20 seconds later, the knowledge view is going to refresh itself. 10 seconds after that, the dashboard widget is going to refresh the knowledge view. And then I'm going to be back into that cycle. Okay, the knowledge view has been refreshed. So in 20 seconds, the knowledge view is going to refresh itself. And then 10 seconds after that, I'm going to, you probably don't want to do a lot of refreshing, especially if the knowledge view has a lot of items in it. So just something to keep in mind. CSS class. If you built a CSS class back over on the Properties tab in that big CSS text box, then you can apply that CSS class here. Let's say I had a CSS class called KV1. All I would type in here is the name of that class, which would be KV1, and now that would apply that class to it. Now you have the name. The name is either portlet 1, 2, 3, or 4. The reason that you might want, usually you don't need to do this, but there are reasons where you might want to name a portlet because of the way that knowledge views work. Before I do anything else, let me hit apply. Let me hit OK. wait a second. No, we don't have to do it here. This is my back end. That's my development end. This is my front end. I can play around here. Okay, both knowledge views and charts have a unique ability. So if I go to the configure tab of my knowledge view and I say perform this action when entry is clicked, I want it to open. And now where do I want it to open? Because traditionally the workspace had a maximum of 4 portlets. We're kind of that has to roll forward. That has to stay the same for backward compatibility. Now, normally, if I'm just showing a knowledge view in the UI itself, I just open a knowledge view and it fills the whole screen and it shows it to me. It doesn't matter what portlet we're in because there are no portlets. However, in a workspace or in a dashboard, each one of those widgets will create a portlet. It won't look the same in a dashboard or a workspace, but they're both portlets. Those little windows that we see are portlets, and they are named 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a workspace. And you can see in the workspace definition that we just looked at a few moments ago, those numbers that are inside those panes tell you what portlet it is. Okay, well, I can say when I click on an item in this knowledge view, I want to display, well, I can open it inline in the browser, which is the default. I can open a separate pop-up window. Not sure how long that option has to live. Replace the entire window, so I could just replace everything in the window, or display in target portlet 1, 2, 3, or 4. Well, what is portlet 1, 2, 3, or 4? In a workspace, we know what portlets 1, 2, 3, and 4 are. In a dashboard, we don't. So we have to name portlet 1, 2, 3, and 4. That way, if this is a knowledge view and I want to call this portlet 1 and I have a different like a form dashboard or a form widget, and I want to fill that form widget, I got to name that widget, say, portlet 2, and then in my knowledge view, I would need to go back and change that so that it would open in portlet 2. So the portlet names sort of carry on in the dashboard as portlet 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I have 4 possible portlets. And if I am going to do something like we just saw in the knowledge view, where I click on this and I want you to open the item in portlet 2, okay, great. Then this would be portlet 1. And then I'd have to create another object in here, another widget, probably a form widget. And I'd have to rename it if I wanted the item that I click here to open in portlet 2, then I'd need to set the name in my form widget as portlet 2, so that whenever I clicked on an item in this knowledge view, it would open the form in portlet 2, for example. So that's what these names allow you to do. Both knowledge views, because knowledge views, you click on an item, an action is going to occur. We have the option of setting that action to occur in portlets. Charts do the same thing. Charts have the ability to click through. And I might want to do a click through on a chart and show the source data in a different portlet. We're not going to get into charts this week. I think that is coming up in the not too distant future. But because both of those items can appear on a dashboard, and because they can open up things in specified portlets, we need to have these portlet names. Finally, we're going to choose the K view that we want. Well, the K view just exists right here in our base objects. So we'll just show the My Requests K view, and we'll hit Apply. And if I want to test this, I can actually run it directly from here, and it will actually open a pop-up that runs my dashboard. And this is what my dashboard looks like. Now, because I set the background color of the dashboard as white, it kind of just automatically flows into the Knowledge View itself, which also has a background color of white. So it's kind of more seamless and kind of prettier. That's why I always set the background color to white, because the actual background color, I believe, is this gray color here, which I believe the hexadecimal for it is F1, F1, F1. It's not quite gray, but it's not quite white. And so this is what all of this, outside of the Knowledge View itself, that's what all of that background in this area would look like. It would be that color. I'm not a big fan, so I'd rather it show up as white. So there we go. There's my dashboard. If I make it smaller, it gets smaller. This is why responsive is good. Now, everything just kind of jams itself up where it's supposed to be. It grows and shrinks. It's great. So responsive is great. Oh, I did want to show one more thing. The title bar is off. But remember I said we could turn the title bar on or off. So let's do this. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Oh, come on. I don't know why my mouse is so sensitive at the corner of objects. So fine, we'll just drag this here. I'm going to extend it off the screen a little bit so we can snap back to it. If we show the title bar and update our dashboard, then we'll come over here and refresh it. Okay, come on. To run it again. Okay, we're not seeing the title bar on there. Normally you do. Oh no. Show title bar. Apply. Did I just not save it? Okay, apply. Now run. There we go. There's my title bar. Needed to save it. So right now it says KView widget up here. I'm not a big fan of the title bar. In fact, most people aren't big fans of the title bar. So that's why the default is to hide it. If you want to show it, then that's what you're going to want to see. I don't know why you'd want to see it. I think it's kind of ugly. So that's why the default is not to show the thing, but there you go. Now I'm probably going to need some buttons to make this work, for nothing else to open my form. And we are kind of getting short on time, so I guess I better speed it up a little bit. But let's drag a button on here, and we'll just do that, and we'll double click on it, and our button text will be open my form. And I always want it to display. The action that I want to do is to open a form. So we'll open a form, and the form that I want to open is my base objects form here. So it's that one right there. And I've got an open and pop up. We're not going to check that yet. We're going to leave that the way it is, and I'll show you why. So let me apply that. Let me update. And now let me run my dashboard again. And so there, I've got the Open My Form button. And when I click it, by default in a dashboard, new forms are going to open up inside their own pane inside the dashboard. I have a little button up here that I can close them, and then I can open up a form, and it's going to open up in a pane in my dashboard. I don't go anywhere. It doesn't open up a new pop-up window. Everything happens inside the dashboard, if indeed I want it to happen. And notice when I click either when you click submit or as I just did, you click the cancel, it will also close the object. Once the object closes, that pane will disappear. it will bring me back over here to our dashboard. If, however, I go back into my button, I can hit, cleared up my form. And I hit open as pop-up and apply, and then we'll update and run. And now if I click open my form, it does in fact open it in a new pop-up window. So that ability currently exists. I think we are probably going to change that behavior. So instead of opening a pop-up, it will open in a new window, and it keeps forgetting what my form is. I do not like that. Looks like a minor bug that I'm going to have the engineering team look at. Now, the nice thing about having a dashboard, there are also some cool things you can do. There's this text widget, right? I can pull this text widget and I can do all kind of cool things on here. I can use system variables to determine who I am. I can use a system variable to show my user image here, the last logged in. It's just a text widget, right? And so I can just, now, this is kind of cool. I can use this editor with it, but I can also use system variables with it, right? So if I just wanted to drop in cur user and cur date, and like I said, if I wanted my image to appear in there, whatever, I could make it happen. Oh, I didn't put in my bracket, my opening bracket for current date. So it's a little messed up, but I can show all kind of system information here. I can use this to customize this to the user. In fact, we're going to have a demonstration of that later on when we talk about using a form as a portlet instead of using a dashboard. But for now, let me go here and add cur date in the proper format. Oh, what the heck? Let's make it bigger. And let's boldface the user. That's fine. Cur user, cur date. So we're great here. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to save our dashboard. So I have a dashboard. Now we're going to need to go back over to our workspace. So we go to configuration, we go back here to my workspace, and on the other screen, let's go back here to our workspace. I guess we'll turn the content list off and we'll pull our workspace again. So this is what our workspace currently looks like. It's got 3 portlets in it. Let's change it. The nice thing about a dashboard is that the person who creates the app can also create the dashboard, which means they can control what the UI for that application looks like. They don't have to, and they can go back and change it anytime they need to. You, as a system administrator, don't have to worry about how their dashboard looks. All you have to do is create a workspace that shows that dashboard. So for this workspace, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the home page windows, and we're going to set this back to a single window portlet. And this time, instead of showing the task list, we are going to grab a partition dashboard, and we're just going to select our workspaces and dashboards, and there is our webinar dashboard, and we're going to update here. Then we're going to go back over here and we're going to refresh our screen. Okay, I thought I saved it. Partition dashboard. That's the dashboard. Let's hit update. Okay, that should have saved it. We'll even hit OK to be sure it saved it. Okay, maybe a caching problem. So let's do this. Let me kill the entire browser window. Let me reopen it. And we'll go to training again. So, well, uh, sorry, there we go. Training. And we'll log in. There we go. Now I got my workspace showing up. And why is this all messed up here? Let's put that back in its right place. So that's what my workspace looks like now. Now, the cool thing about this is my buttons up here still work. So if I have different buttons, I can add to them, or I can have the buttons here. So this sample form should actually be my workspace form. I don't know which form I selected for it, but I can now open my, oh, I put the open in a pop-up window, which I wanted to remove. All right, well, it is what it is. But now this is my dashboard. And so the person who created the dashboard still has access to the content list. So if they need to go and change this information down here, or give me a new knowledge view, or add some new buttons here, whatever they need to do, they can do it. They have full access to this. As an administrator, my job is done. I gave them the workspace. I pointed at their dashboard. Now I don't care what they do with it, because they're the implementer. They are the one who runs the application. They know the knowledge views they want their end users to see and the forms that they want them to be able to open. And so they can simply make whatever changes they need to make inside their object to just automatically catch up whenever my cache refreshes and I get the new version of it. I get to see the new dashboard. So this is an easier way and a better way, I think, in many ways, of building a user interface in Process Director, because it doesn't require you to use those 1 through 4 portlets. It gives your implementer much better control over what it is that the users of their application are going to see, reduces, the amount of work that you would have to do in helping them with editing it as a system administrator if it was a standard workspace. So this is a really good idea. But there is an even better idea. It's an idea that we're not going to talk about today, because it's now coming up on 11:45. So we're running out of time. So the third method for this is one that we're going to have to put off for a while, because it's going to be a training webinar all on its own. And that's the training courses partition, where I do not want to be. So we're going to move ahead. Now that we got workspaces and dashboards down, we're going to have to move ahead to a different UI. Well, I've already got it running here. What do I have to show it? So this is what a BP Logix application more or less looks like. So if some of, I know that some of you, or a small number of you on the higher ed side, have dropped in Apruvia to look at. And if I just click on one of these buttons, it's going to open my form. It's obviously going to take a while, but there's my HR request. I have a IT request that's kind of the same. I've got knowledge views that show me all the different requests I have. There are none currently pending, because we're going to have to rebuild this. But what we're actually looking at here for this particular workspace And by the way, I have the IT request and the HR request forms up here. Let's do HR request again since we've already done one and it exists. I hate the fact that it's opening up in those huge windows. That's the drawback of having a big 32-inch monitor. But this is a dashboard, and the dashboard shows a single process director form. This is a form that we are looking at. There's no submit button or anything like that, but in this particular case of this workspace, this is my UI sample workspace, which we're going to talk about coming up. If I go into configuration and I go into the UI sample workspace, it's just a normal workspace here. I've got my IT request and HR request buttons right up here. I've got my homepage button that takes me back to the homepage if I'm somewhere else. Although, again, you can click on UI sample. You don't need a homepage button, but whether your users will figure out that this is a clickable link or not is an open question. So, how much hand holding do you want to do? But if we look at homepage windows, this is just a partition dashboard. It is a single portlet that shows a partition dashboard, and the dashboard is called main. And if we go back to our content list and we look at that dashboard, advanced UI, completed app, UI elements, main, there's my dashboard. So here's my form. It's called main UI. I've also got this chart that will show up on the main UI form. But the important thing for us for this week is to look at the main dashboard. And the main dashboard has one thing on it. It is a form widget. And that form just shows my main UI form from right here. And this main UI form is where I create the entire UI that we see whenever we go to the home page of this workspace. Now, my chart doesn't have any data. It doesn't have any data because I don't have any items. But I've got buttons for opening, knowledge use, even though they don't have any data, they still work. I got buttons for opening forms. I've got a knowledge view right here. I've got a chart right here, but there are no active tasks, so there are no data. I've got all these cool colors. I've got this little shaded background thing. All of this is done inside a process director form, about which we will discuss in due course. For now, however, we have discussed the first part of workspaces and dashboards. We'll have to come back and address advanced UI in the next training webinar. Once again, my reminder, if you weren't here at the beginning, and several have already left, but in the Circle community, please go, oh wait, there's Q&As here, sorry. For my clarities, dashboards always need to be added to a workspace for it to be visible to a particular group or groups of employees. That is false. You do not need to put a dashboard in a workspace. You can, it's a great idea, but dashboards live on their own. You can put a dashboard anywhere you want it. A dashboard is just a content list object like a form or a knowledge view. And if you want users to see it, give them a link to click to open it up, or however you want to access it. You can build a button to just open up the dashboard, and the dashboard will open up in its own window. It does not have to be inside a workspace. It can be, it's a great use of it, but dashboards can live anywhere and can be shown to anyone that you would like them to be shown, just as any other content list object would be. I'm on 6.1.355. We do not have the logout option in the user dropdown. I still have it added in the work. Okay. If you're on 6.1.355, because that's the version I'm on, you should be seeing what I'm seeing. So if you are not seeing what I am seeing, I suspect you have a configuration issue and you're going to need to have somebody walk you through some configuration stuff because I'm on 6.1.355. That's what we've been using for the whole training webinar. So if you're not seeing what I'm seeing, then you're not seeing the right thing. And I suspect it's either permissions or configuration error. And that's why you're not seeing it. Okay, so final thing, customer forum on using AI to build stuff in Process Director for you. That's happening next Friday. If you are not a member of the BP Logix community, check the chat window because in the chat window, I pasted a link to an invite link for the community. So please join the community so that you can attend that customer forum if you want to. It's going to be in a live room and everybody's going to be able to talk and everybody's going to be able to contribute. So unlike a webinar where it's just me yammering at you for 2 hours, this will be one where everybody will get a chance to say whatever they'd like to say. So just keep that in mind. That's coming up next Friday, the 23rd at noon Pacific time. Have a great week. We will talk to you again next week. Until then, so long.